Hey everybody, it's SirWillow. I did a live stream a few days ago and noticed in some of the responses afterwards that there seemed to be a little bit of confusion, partially because of how I responded in a couple things, and partially because I think that there's a lot of viewers who don't understand my background, don't understand what's happening and why I do what I do and what I do. So I thought I'd take a little bit of an advantage and do a little video that gives you a background look at me and what I do at my real job. Yes, I actually do have a real job. If you ever want to bother a YouTuber, tell him to get a real job. But I wanted to let you see what I do, where the videos fill in on that, and how all of that works. Give you a look at how I produce the videos and what I get in response to them, but also who I really am. I know that 90% of the time all you see is this behind me. And it's a wonderful little shelf display. Every now and then I'll give you a glimpse into my house with the family. But I wanted to let you see who I really am and what I do. See, theme parks and roller coasters, in the past, yes, it's been a job, but it is also a hobby. And that's exactly where it fits in on the scale, as a hobby. I love them, I enjoy them, but they are not my main focus and purpose in life. And while it's been a wonderful deal to become a center of the videos, believe it or not, the videos are actually not a main focus and purpose in my life either. So just because you see all of this and think, wow, that's all he lives for. And I know I probably give that impression sometimes. No, this isn't it. So let me show you who I really am and try to let you inside. See, where I actually film these videos is in my office at my church. You may know I'm a pastor, but let me give you a look into what that actually means. So I'm going to pick up my tripod here and let you see that down at the bottom of those shelves, hey look, it's actually books and working materials. Just immediately to the side, yeah, there's a whole lot more books. I'm caught on a cord. There's a whole lot more books. These are all study things that I use for my ministry. There's my shelves, or my file cabinets, all the roller coaster stuff, and the boat that my stepfather built, which I got after he passed on. By the way, that's where the NASCAR coat came from, too. But then just right here, hey, look, there is my actual workstation. So there's another file cabinet there that has all the church records and finances. I've actually been doing all the annual financial reports along with quarterly financial reports. There's a lot of paperwork that comes along with being a pastor that you may not realize. And when you are a small town, small church pastor, that means you get to do all of it. And then right around the corner from that, yes, there's actually more books and more books. Part of that is because when it comes to doing a sermon, and you can actually see all my setup now for doing the videos, when it comes to speaking at a church, some people, I think, feel that it's, oh, let me stand up on a Sunday morning and make it up as I go, and I only have to do that a couple hours a week, and that's my whole job. Oh, I wish it was that easy. So I'm going to actually walk into the sanctuary. You can see this is my actual church. It's not my church. It's the one I work at. It's not real big. It can seat up to 100. We typically have a lot less than that. And I'll talk about that more. But for my work week at church, I have a Sunday morning, a Sunday school. So I actually have two different speaking things I do on Sunday mornings. I have another one Sunday evening, and then we have a Wednesday evening. Each of those is about 30 to 40 minutes long. And if you ever do any public speaking or preparation, the general guideline is for every 5 minutes you speak, takes about an hour of preparation. So by the time I am all done with those four messages, I've got about 2 hours and 15 to 2.5 hours of speaking I actually do every week. It comes out to about 24 to 30 hours of preparation if I'm well prepared to be able to just do those well. It doesn't always reach that amount of time. I wish it did. But there's that. And then when you have the building in a small town, small church, and I'll actually show you the town here in a few minutes, most of the other jobs in the church fall on me as well, or my wife, because we're the staff. So when it comes to cleaning the church, fixing the toilet when it plugs up, doing some of the mechanical repairs, just all the basic maintenance that goes into the church, that's me. When it comes to the financials and the paperwork and all of that, that's me. So all of that adds up. And by the way, I want to make clear, I'm not complaining about this. I'm just giving you a look at the job, and then I'll talk a little bit about why we chose this. Additionally, any public publicity, special events, I'm the one who has to generally organize those. Anything that we do for the community. We run a food bank, we give out food services, we do other assistance for people. That all comes through me as well. We like to show movies for our town. Well, I'm usually the one who's setting that up, getting publicity out for that, trying to let people know, making sure we've got everything in place. We do several other things. We volunteer over at the school, and so I help coordinate that. So there's a lot of work I actually do out in the town as well. Part of the reason that I'm not able to get another job with fixed hours, or that I choose not to, and again, I'll talk about the town, but the demands of a pastorate, oftentimes you need to be flexible. And there are pastors out there, a lot of them, believe it or not, 70% of pastors have to work a side job to pay their bills at home. So to put food on the table, to pay utilities and rent, pastors have to work. That's most of them. It's a small number, a small percentage that doesn't have to. But I want the flexibility, so if I get a call from somebody in my church that says, I'm in the hospital, I have the ability to take off and go visit them. If I have somebody who is having an issue, we deal a lot with addiction issues and family issues and poverty issues, and if you're not familiar with those, let's just say that there's a lot of mess that comes with a lot of that. And so we deal with that a lot. And sometimes it means having to drop everything and run and go get somebody and pull them out of a situation and help out with that. So I really like to have that flexibility. And then when you get those phone calls at 2 a.m, hey, we're at the emergency room, you want to be able to go and not think, oh, I've got to get up in 2 hours and go to work. So that's one of the big reasons that I like the flexibility. And when we came here, my wife and I deliberately chose, hey, if I'm going to be a pastor, then I need to be able to be as flexible as possible to be able to meet the needs of the community. I did do 3 years where I was working full-time at Silver Dollar City, and there were a number of times, as much as I loved the job, that it became a frustration because something would happen while I was at work and I couldn't do anything to respond. And my wife couldn't do anything to respond because she was teaching. It made it very difficult. And so that actually contributed to the reason to leave Silver Dollar City, in addition to the fact it was low pay, it was a 40-minute drive each way. The schedule, my boss did a good job of trying to flex, but it didn't always flex very well. So there were a number of things there that made me realize, you know what, it's time. And I ended up getting more involved at my school and substitute teaching there for quite a while. And so that's kind of what we do. We chose. We knew when we were coming here we were going to go to a small church, one that could not afford to pay a pastor because most of them can't. My pay that I get from the church is I get $20 a week to put in the gas tank, and then they provide my home. It's called a parsonage because the church owns it. And it's a small home. It's 800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. For those that are trying to translate that, each bedroom is 8 feet by 9 feet. They're small. There is no master bedroom. The hotel I stayed in last week in Branson that had 1 bedroom and a living area with a kitchenette and the whirlpool tub in the bedroom was 600 square feet. My home I live in is 800, so almost the same size, not much of a difference. So yeah, it's small, but we're grateful for it. Again, that's why we're here, is to serve people, and we get the rewards of seeing people when their lives are changed. When they take that mess that they're in, the drug addiction, the poverty, and other stuff, and they begin to make choices to turn their lives around and change. That's why we're here. That is what we love to see. And there's no better pay than watching people's lives get changed. And so that's what we do. This is my real job. This job takes between 35 and 50 hours a week in general. It's a lot of work. The pay isn't much, but you know what? I'm not in it for the pay. And my wife gets enough pay to cover our needs, to cover our bills, and to take care of us. And that's what we're after. Now, I know there's people who are saying, but yeah, but you do the YouTube channel to get money so you can go do. Actually, I don't. The YouTube channel is a hobby. And that's all it was ever meant to be. And it's blossomed. It's done a lot more, but it doesn't provide what some people think. It doesn't provide what I think some people think it provides. There we go. Get that out. Let me show you my town, though, because this will be another reason why I don't have a real job. Because my town is small. Crane is not a big town, and so I'm going to bring you outside here and let you just take a look here. Because my church is on Main Street, so this is the main road in town. And we're just going to turn, and there is Crane. And that is actually almost all of Crane. Our downtown area is 2 blocks long, so you can see the newspaper next door. You can see the post office is actually just past that. And then we've got several antique shops. The library is right there on the corner. And then we've got a couple other buildings. We do have a grocery store in town and a Dollar General and a couple restaurants. But there's no stoplights. In fact, there's only about a dozen stop signs. So you can see empty buildings because there's no industry anymore. What used to be here is almost all closed. There's a wonderful park right down there and a creek. And then the grocery store is up on the other side. The biggest business in town is our school. Our school goes from preschool all the way up through seniors in high school and has about 500 to 550 students in the whole entire thing. That's preschool up through graduating seniors. So it's not a big school, and that's the whole town. In fact, our school actually has a gymnasium that can fit our whole entire town of 1,400 people in it. So, small town, no jobs here. Unless you want to work at the grocery store, and even that barely hires. So, what do you do as far as getting another job? Well, it means you got to drive if you can't get something here in town, and since there really isn't anything in town, the closest larger town is 20 minutes away. That's where our Walmart is. And that's assuming that you're not stuck behind a tractor or other slow drivers, which happens quite a bit. So 20 minutes for that, but if you really want to get into a place that has some industry or places that hire, you're looking 45 minutes to an hour. Silver Dollar City is about 40 minutes away. Springfield is 45 to 50, and Branson's an hour. And even a lot of those jobs, Branson is a tourist town. As I mentioned in a couple videos back, it shuts down from January through March. There's nothing there. There's no job, so people don't work. And most of the jobs in tourist town are minimum wage. So they don't pay real good either. So that's kind of where we are. Oh, and I forgot to point out one other thing for you. Transportation-wise, again, low salary. That car right there, that is actually my daughter's car. That is the one I kind of borrow because she doesn't drive very much. So before she had a car, I didn't have a car that I could use. But very grateful she lets me do that. So where does the channel fit in? Well, when I started the channel, I was actually substitute teaching at the local school. And I'll plunk this down again here. I was substitute teaching at the local schools, and I was doing everything from 3rd grade all the way up through seniors in high school. So I was all over the place. And yet, that didn't bring in very much money. It was great to be able to get out in the community, to let people know who we were, and to talk to them about the church. But as I started doing the YouTube videos, it actually started to bring in a little bit of money, not as much as you're thinking, but it eventually caught up to what I was making substitute teaching. And actually was more flexible, allowed me to do more in town. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let's go with the YouTube. I'll do the subbing if they need me in an emergency, but I can actually flex, and if somebody calls me, if there's a problem, I can go do it now because of the videos. So what I earn on the videos is probably less than you're thinking. Every month, YouTube pays me based on their advertising revenue. And I typically get about $125 to $150 a month from YouTube. Not a lot, but hey, that's fine. Again, I never went into this for money, and so that's all been a blessing. I do have patrons that support me, and typically I get about $500 to $600 a month from Patreon. So all told, I get up to about $750 a month from doing the videos in a good month. So where does that money go? Well, I don't use it for living. That money goes into things like the lights. It goes into things like the wonderful microphone I have here and the filters. It goes into improving my equipment. It also is what pays for my trips that I do take, because I figure people watching my videos would like to see me on the road and like to see what I'm talking about. So my Patreon money covers my Six Flags membership, my Silver Dollar City passes. It helps cover the gas and hotels for things like that. So this last summer when I went down to Florida, that trip was actually split in half. My church denomination had huge business meetings, so that was part of it. And then the other part, I used some passes I have basically been blessed with at Disney, along with some other funds, and we hit some of the parks and stuff too. Again, thank you to my patrons who covered a lot of that expense. So between the church paying for some of the trip expenses, my patrons paying for some of the expenses, and other people volunteering, we were able to make some videos happen that wouldn't have happened otherwise. That's where that comes in. Where it gets frustrating for me is when I have people that ask me when I'm going to go places, why I'm not going to places. And that's kind of what happened in that live stream, is I had a string of people saying, when are you coming here? Why aren't you here? When are you going to do this? And I don't think people are understanding that I'm not in this to do that. I love doing that. It's a lot of fun. But the reality is I'm in business to do this, the church, and why I'm here. And the other stuff is all side. It's wonderful. It's great. It's fun. But the truth is, it's not my focus. And, because our reality is doing the church and community and keeping our budget small because we want to be able to focus on that, we don't have a lot of extra. That doesn't mean I'm saying send me money, pay for me to go places. I'm just saying we don't have that. That's not a focus of ours. And so if it is to happen, it's because other people step up and make it happen. So when we look at Disneyland, I had one viewer in particular, Alex, who's also one of my patrons, as well as a couple others step in like Leo, and they made that trip possible. We absolutely loved it. We were excited. It was an awesome trip. And I am so extremely grateful for it. Please don't think I'm not. But it's not something we ever would have planned otherwise if people hadn't covered it. The same thing with going to Disneyland Paris or to go to Cedar Point. They're fantastic. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for the opportunities that people have given. But they're not things I would have been disappointed about if I didn't go, because they're not something I ever thought about or planned on doing. I hope that makes sense. So when I tell people after a whole string of those questions, look, unless you're paying for it, I'm not going. I'm not trying to say, give me the money and pay for it already. I'm trying to let them know, hey, look, my reality is this, and that is not on my radar. And I don't plan on it being on my radar because I know our budget and limitations, and I'm okay with those because they're choices that we've made on our own to do what we feel like we need to do, like what we're called to do. And again, I love theme parks, but I don't know if necessarily that's my calling, is to travel around forever and do theme parks. I like to think that what I do at the church is a little bit of a higher calling. So I hope that makes sense. A video production. So I've already said that the church does, takes up between 35 to 50 hours a week. So what do the videos take, and how are they flexible? Because this is where the videos actually worked out nice. Typically for me, it takes about an hour or so of scripting. That's basically writing out what I'm going to say, putting my ideas in paper, and making them work that way. It's about another hour to film or so, and that includes getting everything set up, my sound equipment set up. I run my sound off the computer here in church, and to actually get it filmed. Then I take it home, and depending upon the video, it's typically 6 to 8 hours of editing. So a regular video can take 8 to 10 hours of work to produce a video. 2 videos a week, that's 20 hours of work. that doesn't include the publicity, publicizing it, getting out into other places and trying to get people to see, which, believe it or not, is a lot of work. And I'm doing this for a few $100s a month, and that's cool. I love it. I do it because I love it, not because I'm getting money. And people supporting me are just a big encouragement and help me to do some other things I wouldn't get to do. But even if I had no support, I would still basically be doing the, hey, here's what I did at work, here's what I used to do, here's what it was like, because I enjoy that. It's getting out and improving the quality and other stuff that they help out with. But it's, a good 20 hours a week for 2 videos. And then when I look at these people that are doing videos daily, I'm just like, oh my goodness, how on earth do they manage that? Because I do it all by myself. I don't have any crew or staff or editors or anything like that, except for when my son occasionally steps in and helps. It's a lot of work. It really is, for not a lot of financial return, but it's a good emotional return. And I love when I hear that people enjoy it and are blessed watching it, and it encourages them. That blows me away when I hear that. But that's the nice thing with all that, is it's very flexible. So if something does come up, I can drop it in a hurry, turn around and go do what I need to do with my church, and then come back and pick it up again. And that's where it has worked really well. And then the money side of it, I believe it or not, I actually make more money doing this than I did substitute teaching, because our local school is terrible about how much they pay their subs. But it's allowed me to do some other things at the school that I would not have been able to do otherwise, because I was busy teaching as opposed to being able to flex and do some other stuff for them. So yeah, that's kind of how my work week is. It's typically 35 to 50 hours of the church. It's about another 20 hours of video production, assuming I'm not on the road, because people have supported me for that. And it keeps me pretty busy. But I hope that gives you a look into what I do and why I do it. Again, I'm not in it for the money. I'm blessed when people bless me. I really am. But I never expect that. Mail is always another blessing, and I do keep all of that. It's actually in this file cabinet right over here, all my fan mail and stuff. So I hope that helps you understand that when I tell people, I'm not going there, I'm sorry, I have no plans, my budget's limited, unless you're covering it, it's not because I'm expecting them to pay for it, not because I'm demanding people pay me, quite the opposite, in fact. I'm just saying that's not in the plans at this point. I'd love to go visit all these places, but I've got other priorities. And then if something else happens and it opens it up and provides it, awesome. But if it doesn't, that's totally okay too. And that's probably what I'm expecting. So I hope this gives you a little look at what I do and who I am and how it all works and comes together. Please let me know if you have questions. I would love to hear them. If you want to know more about the reality of SirWillow, ask. That's why I'm here. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to my patrons for their support too. Because honestly, if you love the videos on the road and you love the better quality, they are the ones to thank, because they are the ones that have provided for it. Thank you so much too for watching, because you bless me that way as well. So thanks so much, and God bless.